DEAL, D-E-A-L, stands for Describe, Examine, and Articulate Learning. And this is a model that was developed by Patty Clayton and Sarah Ash out of North Carolina. What it is a structured way to actually look at an incident or an event or an observation and reflect on what happened, what did the student do about this, what did they observe, what did they observe others doing. And so instead of just asking students to reflect on their internship or their work experience, there's actually a framework for them to systematically go through a series of prompts or questions that they ask themselves about the event in terms of what happened, kind of a fly on the wall scenario. And then how did they feel? How did they react to the situation? How did they, did they judge others, or did they participate, take action in some way? And then the final part, articulating the learning, is about the student really thinking about, did this confirm something I already know? Or I never thought about that, or I never looked at a situation from this perspective, or boy, I won't do that again. I've been using the DEAL model since about 2009 when I first discovered it at a workshop here at U of T. And in the last few years, I've changed some of the language. Instead of talking about reflective journal writing to students, I actually now call the pieces of writing that they do critical incident reports. The reason for that is a lot of students would look at critical or reflective writing as something that was kind of fluffy, or maybe it wasn't academically rigorous, or that it was something that they just would do kind of as a deliverable based on their experience. But looking at it from the perspective of a critical incident actually it helps them align what they're doing and the actual act of reflection with what they would do in industry, on a team, possibly as a project manager. So looking at an incident that they have to take apart, they have to examine, analyze, they have to justify their actions or talk about what they would do differently. Those are the kinds of things they're going to have to report to a supervisor. Or they're going to have to put in an annual report. Or as a project manager, they may have to justify the change in a project scope because of certain things. And they can't just say, well, something didn't work out. They have to be able to analyze, well, what didn't work out? Why didn't it work out? And how will this new direction ensure that you can move the project forward? When students go out to find that job post-graduation, I always tell them their dream job, they're going to be asked questions that start with something like, tell me about a time when. And if they haven't really worked through some of the events or the incidents that they have been involved with, then they're going to have to pull a story out of the air and just and they're going to have to sit there and actually work through it while they're nervous in front of an interviewer. When they have a few of these critical incidents, they've actually worked through a few things in terms of their personal growth, their intellectual growth, or maybe when they took a risk or they decided not to take a risk. And so therefore they actually already have a set of stories that they can call on. Reflective writing is not the only tool we can use to help facilitate students thinking about their actions, thinking about what's been going on. I use in the classroom, actually, instead of role-playing, something called rich pictures. This is something that was used back in the 80s at Stanford University with computer scientists. It's a way of collaboratively solving a problem or actually looking at a problem using drawing and diagramming. It's become more fashionable, shall we say. Since around 2010, there are a group of researchers in the UK that look at rich pictures and how they're used in groups and teams that are looking at a problem, trying to identify stakeholders in a problem, and barriers and obstacles to solving a problem by collaboratively drawing out the problem. And I've used that in the classroom instead of role playing because it gets the students talking. The idea is while students are drawing out the problem, and maybe barriers, you would have X's out and walls being drawn to create barriers and walls, and how are they going to kind of get beyond those barriers? They're talking the whole time. So they're discussing, they're drawing, and it's really an amazing activity for them because they start thinking about all of the effective aspects of a problem.